They will test you. They will push, prod, and pry, searching for cracks in your armor. The moment they find one, they'll keep coming until you have nothing left to defend. If you want to never be bothered again, you must stop being easy to reach. If you want to stop being controlled, you must stop being predictable. The weak hide behind kindness, believing it will shield them. The powerful hide behind distance, because distance works. In this world, boundaries aren't given. They are enforced with steel and silence. Machiavelli said it's better to be feared than loved if you can't be both. But here's the truth. No one will admit. When no one can read you, they can't touch you. If you're ready to forge a mind so untouchable, it feels inhuman, then listen carefully and type this in the comments right now. My silence is my fortress. This is the first rule of the cold mind, and tonight you will learn the rest. Number 1. The removal of access. Most people give away too much of themselves, time, attention, emotions, as if it costs them nothing. That is weakness disguised as generosity. Every moment you are available to anyone, you're teaching them that your life belongs to them. A Machiavellian mind operates differently. It limits access like a rare commodity. You become a locked vault and not everyone gets a key. When someone tries to pull you into their drama, you don't respond, you vanish. When they demand answers, you give none. The less you give, the more control you keep. You will feel the urge to explain yourself, to soften the blow of your absence. Kill that urge. Power grows in silence, not in explanations. Comment this right now. Access to me is earned. And remember, when you control who can reach you, you control who can hurt you. Number 2, the power of emotional frost. Emotions are the levers people pull to move you. Anger, guilt, pity, these are not just feelings. They are weapons. And in the wrong hands, they become chains wrapped around your mind. Every reaction you give is proof they can reach you. Every flash of anger, every drop of guilt, every moment of pity tells them exactly where to press next time. That's why the cold mind doesn't just control its emotions, it turns them into a private language no one else can read. When someone tries to provoke you, understand what they're doing. They're not just trying to make you upset, they're fishing for evidence that they matter in your head. If you bite, if you snap, if you explain, you've handed them the keys to your mental kingdom. That's not power, that's surrender. So, you give them nothing. No verbal retaliation, no change in your breathing, no twitch in your face. Keep your tone level, your eyes steady, your pace unbroken. It's not that you feel nothing, it's that you choose what leaves your fortress. This is not weakness, and it's not apathy. This is calculated resistance, the refusal to let anyone dictate your state. Here's the paradox. When you do this long enough, people start to fear the silence more than the outburst. They'll fear the calm, because calm means you're thinking. Calm means you're watching. Calm means you're deciding what happens next, and it's always on your terms. In the Machiavellian sense, this is a weapon more powerful than aggression. Aggression burns out. Emotional frost lasts indefinitely. And when others can't predict your emotional weather, they start walking on ice around you, afraid to make the wrong move. That's where real leverage comes from. Uncertainty in night minds, certainty in yours. You will feel the urge to fight back verbally. You will feel the urge to justify yourself. That urge is the enemy. Kill it. Every time you resist the pull to react, you sharpen the blade of your mental power, and the longer you keep that blade sheathed, the more dangerous you become, because they never see the strike coming. You must practice this in small battles before it works in the big ones. Start by withholding your reaction in trivial moments, delays, insults, slights. Make your stillness an iron habit. By the time you face a serious confrontation, your frost will be second nature, unshakable, untouchable. Comment this right now. My calm is my weapon. Write it so you see it. Say it so you feel it, because when your emotions are untouchable, your power is absolute. And when your power is absolute, no one dares test it twice. Number 3. The disappearance tactic. Power often isn't taken in a clash, it's taken in your absence. The most dangerous move you can make is not to attack, but to remove yourself entirely. When you vanish from the places they expect you, you disrupt their rhythm. And in human interaction, rhythm is control. People are creatures of habit, addicted to predictability. Your availability, your responses, your presence, they all become part of a pattern they rely on. That pattern is their map of how to reach you, how to read you, how to control you. Erase yourself from that map, and you throw them into disorientation. This is the first truth about disappearance. It is not weakness. It is not retreat. It is calculated starvation. You are starving them of influence, starving them of information, starving them of the certainty that makes them comfortable. When they can't find you, they can't touch you. When they can't predict you, they can't plan against you. The less they see you, the more they start to wonder what you're doing. And that wondering turns into questioning. Questioning turns into insecurity. And insecurity turns into fear. This is the psychology of absence. When people can't see your next move, they begin inventing one in their heads. And their imagination will always make you more dangerous than reality could. Machiavelli understood this in the political sphere. When a ruler is rarely seen, his presence carries greater weight. The same principle applies in personal power. Mystery is leverage. Scarcity creates value. If you are always there, you become ordinary. If you disappear, you become rare. But here's the key. You don't announce your disappearance. You don't post a dramatic farewell or declare you're taking a break. That's performance, and performance invites negotiation. True disappearance is quiet. It's surgical. You simply reduce your presence until it feels like you've evaporated. Conversations unanswered. Invitations declined without explanation. Appearances skipped without warning. The silence is the message, and during that silence you do not sit idle, you sharpen yourself. You work in the shadows, you make moves no one can trace. The point isn't to hide in fear, it's to prepare in secret. By the time you return, you are not the same person they last saw. You're sharper, stronger, colder. Here's the second truth. Absence turns you into a myth. A myth cannot be touched because it lives partly in the mind of others. They will speculate about your motives. They will assign meanings to your actions. They will debate what you're thinking, what you're planning. And all the while you control the only thing that matters. You decide when you reappear. When you do, the shift is obvious. They're cautious. They measure their words, they watch for signs, unsure of what will trigger your next disappearance. This uncertainty is the leash, and you're holding it. You've trained them to value your presence, because they've learned it can vanish without warning. And once they fear losing it, you no longer have to fight for respect. It's already been granted. Comment this right now. I appear when I decide. Say, because the person who controls when and where they show up controls the terms of every interaction. And in the game of power, control of the terms is control of the outcome. Number 4. The currency of indifference. Attention is the most valuable currency in human interaction. The moment someone knows you crave theirs, you've already paid them with your power. Indifference is the opposite. It's when you don't need their approval, their validation, or even their acknowledgement to feel complete. And here's the truth. The person who needs the least always controls the one who needs the most. When someone tries to bait you with insults, you give them nothing. When they flaunt something to provoke envy, you give them nothing. When they withhold to make you chase, you give them nothing. This is not passive resistance, it's active denial of their power. Your lack of response forces them into a vacuum where their tactics collapse. Indifference is not about pretending you don't care, it's about truly not needing what they offer. You have to build your mind and your life so solidly that no single person becomes a necessity. That's why most people fail. They try to appear cold while secretly craving attention. But a trained mind feels no withdrawal, because it draws power from within, not from the shifting winds of others. Machiavelli understood this in politics. When a ruler shows he can function without certain allies, those allies scramble to remain relevant. In personal life, the same law applies. If you want someone to stop thinking they own a piece of you, show them you can exist in total strength without them. Do it so convincingly that they begin to wonder if you even noticed their absence. Your goal is not to be cruel, it's to be unbuyable. When you stop being purchasable with compliments, attention, or validation, you become the rarest thing in the modern world, a person who cannot be controlled. Comment this. Right now, I am my own source. Write it and mean it. Because when you master indifference, you master leverage. And when you master leverage, no one bothers you twice. Number 5. The art of psychological deterrence. The strongest defense is not a wall, not a weapon, not even action. It's the threat of consequence without ever revealing exactly what that consequence is. When people believe that approaching you, disrespecting you, or attempting to manipulate you could cost them something, status, comfort, peace, they approach with hesitation. That hesitation is your victory before the first move is even made. This is psychological deterrence, the invisible armor of the Machiavellian mind. The average person has no armor. They are desperate to be liked, understood, and accepted. They make themselves too safe, too open, too easy. The problem with being too easy to approach is that you invite people who have no respect for your boundaries and no intention to bring value. Only the hunger to take a cold mind works differently. It doesn't scream for attention, beg for validation, or open its doors to everyone. Instead, it creates a presence, an aura that makes others pause before getting too close. And that pause is everything. In that pause, they ask themselves, is this worth the risk? What happens if I overstep? Will I regret trying? That doubt is the seed you want to plant in everyone you deal with. Because once it's there, it grows on its own. They tread lightly, speak more carefully, measure their tone, without you ever issuing a direct warning. Your reputation becomes your first line of defense, not because you boast about what you can do, but because you carry yourself in a way that makes others feel the possibility of consequence. They don't know what you might do, only that it won't favor them. That is far more effective than any open display of aggression. Here's the paradox. The moment you loudly try to intimidate someone, you invite them to test you. It becomes a contest of pride. But when your deterrence is subtle, silent, and unspoken, there's nothing for them to challenge, only something to respect. Loud intimidation is cheap. Quiet deterrence is priceless. Machiavelli understood this well. He wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But more importantly, he knew that the threat of losing your favor often outweighs the fear of direct retaliation. So how do you build this quiet deterrence? By controlling 3 things with precision: your words, your expressions, and your silences. Your words are measured, never too many, never too few. You don't spill your life story to strangers or explain your every move. You speak with intention and only when necessary, telling people your voice has value. Your expressions are restrained. No one should be able to read your full emotional state. If insulted, your gaze stays steady. If provoked, your posture doesn't shift. If amused, you allow only a faint smile, never the full grin that reveals too much. Your silences are weaponized. A pause before answering makes people wonder what you're thinking. Ignoring provocations makes them question whether they've crossed a line. Silence is uncomfortable for most, but for you, it becomes a space of control. The key is not to fake this presence, it's to live it. You can't pretend to be unshakable. You must become unshakable. That comes from doing the inner work, detaching from unnecessary attachments, building a life independent of others' approval, and training yourself to respond from principle, not impulse. When you've cultivated this presence long enough, you'll notice a shift. People approach with more respect, think twice before asking for your time, and make disrespect rare. Trouble stops coming. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You've altered the cost-benefit calculation in others' minds, and most decide that testing you isn't worth the loss. That is psychological deterrence. People stop bothering you not because you fight them, but because they decide the risk is too high. You've won before the battle began. Comment this. My presence is my shield. Write it. Remember it. Because when your presence itself becomes a deterrent, you don't need to fight. The fight never reaches you. That is the highest form of defense, born not of force, but of perception. Number 6. Weaponizing scarcity. In a world drowning in noise, the rarest thing is absence. Not just physical absence, but mental and emotional scarcity. The less you give, the more valuable you become. The more available you are, the more ordinary you appear. Scarcity transforms your presence from forgettable to unforgettable. When you control your access, your presence stops being routine and becomes an event. And events are respected, not exploited. Most people are addicted to availability. They throw themselves into every interaction like their worth depends on being seen. They attend every event, answer every call, reply to every message. They fear letting a conversation end without their input, terrified of missing a moment in someone else's life. They think constant presence builds connection. It doesn't. It breeds complacency. People stop valuing what is always there, and they stop working to keep what they know will never leave. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. When a ruler is constantly visible, familiarity erodes authority, mystique fades, respect weakens. But a ruler who appears only at decisive moments commands attention instantly. The same law governs personal power. When your presence is selective, every appearance carries weight. Scarcity is engineered, not accidental, and comes in 3 forms: physical, digital, and emotional. Physical scarcity means limiting your availability. You don't attend every meeting, gathering, or argument you're invited to. You don't get pulled into every urgent problem someone else throws at you. You move on your schedule, not theirs, showing up when it matters most and leaving without overstaying. The more they see you on your terms, the more decisive you appear. Digital scarcity means breaking the cycle of instant replies. Most people are enslaved by notifications, training others to expect constant access. You create deliberate space between their demand and your reply, forcing them to value your attention and question if they still have it. That pause shifts the power dynamic. Emotional scarcity means guarding your inner world. Your thoughts, feelings, and plans are not public property. Once everyone knows your desires and fears, you give them the blueprint to manipulate you. Keep some thoughts for yourself. Mystery lies not only in where you are, but in what you think. Understand this. Scarcity is not arrogance, it's discipline. It's not about believing you're better than others, but knowing your time, presence, and attention are finite resources. And like all finite resources, they gain value when rationed. You don't spend your presence like loose change. You invest it like gold, only where it will grow, only where it will return value. That is the transformation that happens when you commit to weaponizing scarcity. The people who only valued you for convenience will begin to drift away. They were never truly loyal, only accustomed to access. Let them go. Scarcity is a filter. It strips away the opportunists, the users, and the time wasters. What remains is a smaller circle, but a stronger one. Those who stay will treat your time and attention like the rare currency it is. You'll notice the quality of your interactions change. Conversations will become sharper and more intentional. People will prepare before they speak to you, weighing their words and valuing every second they get, knowing they may not get them again soon. Scarcity forces people to treat you with the respect they should have given you from the start. The beauty of scarcity lies in its paradox. The harder you are to reach, the more people want to reach you. The less you show up, the more they anticipate your arrival. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about reprogramming the social dynamic. In a world where everyone is screaming for attention, the one who holds back becomes magnetic. People chase what they can't easily have. And once you understand that, you stop chasing entirely. You must also be strategic about your reappearances. When you do show up, make it count. Bring value. Deliver impact and leave an impression that lingers long after you're gone. This amplifies the effect of your scarcity. People won't just remember that you were there, they'll remember that when you were there, things happened. Words were spoken that mattered. Moves were made that changed something. And remember, scarcity doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean cutting yourself off from the world. It means you move like a storm. Not always in the sky, but always possible. People respect storms because they know they can appear without warning, change everything, and vanish again just as quickly. Be that storm. Comment this right now. My presence is a privilege. Say it until it becomes instinct. Once you truly understand it, you'll never waste your presence again, and no one will treat it as cheap. When you master scarcity, you master both defense and attraction. You become untouchable to those who want to use you, and irresistible to those who want to earn you. That is the Machiavellian balance, being beyond reach, yet impossible to ignore. Number 7. Controlled unpredictability. Power lies not only in being strong, but in being unreadable. Predictability is a weakness most people never notice in themselves. They live in patterns so obvious that anyone watching them long enough can map their every move. That's how enemies, personal or professional, learn where to strike. They know when you're vulnerable because you've trained them to expect it. Controlled unpredictability destroys that map. It makes your actions difficult to forecast and your reactions impossible to script. When people can't predict you, they can't plan against you. They approach you cautiously, calculating, never sure which version of you they'll face. That hesitation gives you the upper hand before the conversation even begins. Here's the Machiavellian truth. A mind that can be anticipated is a mind that can be manipulated. Your predictability is the enemy's blueprint. Destroy it, and you destroy their strategy. Controlled unpredictability doesn't mean chaos or random behavior. True unpredictability is calculated. You deliberately shift patterns to keep people guessing, but always know why you're doing it. You're not unpredictable because you've lost control. You're unpredictable because you have it. You apply this in 3 key domains: your movements, your responses, and your decisions. First, movements. Don't always be in the same places at the same times. If you have a routine, let others think they know it, but occasionally disrupt it without warning. One week you're always available at a certain hour. The next you vanish and reappear later. Never let people map your exact patterns. In politics, this prevents assassination. In psychology, it prevents manipulation. Second, responses. People test your emotional buttons. Maybe they know a certain insult provokes you, or a certain flattery makes you open up. Controlled unpredictability means sometimes you respond, sometimes you don't. Never the same way twice. One day you let an insult slide, the next you cut it down cold. One day you reward flattery, the next you ignore it entirely. They stop knowing which lever to pull, and soon they stop pulling them at all. Third, decisions. Don't be the person whose choices are always obvious. If everyone can guess what you'll agree to or refuse, you're an open book. Occasionally take an unexpected path, one that still serves your larger strategy. This throws people off balance without throwing you off course. It forces them to second-guess their read on you, draining their confidence and slowing their moves. Unpredictability is powerful because it creates a sense of potential danger without you lifting a finger. People fear what they don't understand, and they respect what they fear. You become someone they approach cautiously, knowing they can't fully read you. Machiavelli himself advised rulers to appear one way, while secretly holding another plan entirely. If people think they've figured you out, they'll prepare for that version. Show them something they didn't expect, and you pull the ground from under them. This isn't just defense, it's offense, disguised as unpredictability, but use it with precision. If you're unpredictable in ways that break trust with your inner circle, you destroy alliances. The art is selective unpredictability. Keep your enemies guessing while remaining reliable to your allies. A king who surprises his enemies is feared. A king who surprises his allies is overthrown. Controlled unpredictability has another hidden weapon: psychological fatigue. When people can't read you, they burn mental energy trying to figure you out. Over time, this wears them down, making them less aggressive simply because you're exhausting to analyze. You win without confrontation, just by existing outside their expectations. And here's where you become truly untouchable. Combine unpredictability with scarcity. If people rarely see you and can't predict you when they do, you become a phantom presence in their lives. They know you're out there, but have no idea when, how, or why you'll appear. That uncertainty is pure power. Like a predator in the wild, you're feared not because you're always in sight, but because you might be anywhere. Once you build this image, maintaining it becomes easier. The memory of your unpredictability lingers, influencing their behavior even when you're not actively doing anything. You've reprogrammed their interaction with you, without their consent. This is why controlled unpredictability is a high-level tactic. It's not about constant battles, it's about making the battlefield itself unstable in your favor. When no one knows where to stand, they move carefully. And when they move carefully, you move freely. Comment this right now: I move on my own terms. Because when you decide the terms, you decide the outcome. When you are both scarce and unpredictable, no one can pin you down long enough to control you. That's when you stop being a player in the game and become the game itself. Number 8. Psychological anchoring. Every interaction leaves a mark. Whether it's a 5-minute conversation or a passing glance, there is always residue. Most people wander through life letting those marks form by accident, shaped entirely by impulse, emotion, or the other person's influence. They enter conversations without a plan, react however they feel in the moment, and walk away without considering the imprint they've left behind. That's a mistake, and it's one that costs them power. The Machiavellian mind never surrenders control of the final impression. The ending is everything. What people remember when you're gone is often more powerful than anything you did while you were there. This is where psychological anchoring comes into play. The art of deliberately deciding the emotional tone people will forever attach to you. People rarely remember the exact words you speak. Their memory of the details fades quickly. What doesn't fade is how you made them feel. That emotional echo lingers long after the moment ends. If you don't decide what that echo will be, someone else or the chaos of the moment will decide it for you. And once an impression is cemented in someone's mind, it shapes every future interaction you'll ever have with them. Here's how you take control of that process. Step 1. Enter with intent. Before you walk into a room, pick up the phone or send that message. Decide the exact impression you want to leave behind. This is not about being fake. It's about strategic self-presentation. Maybe you want to project authority, calm dominance, calculated warmth, unshakable distance, or even subtle intimidation. The right choice depends on your long-term strategy with that person or group. Are you planting a seed of respect, creating a sense of mystery, building trust while still holding your ground? Whatever the objective, decide it before the first word is spoken. Step 2, shape the interaction. Every element of your communication must align with your chosen impression. If your goal is unshakable calm, your tone must be steady, your breathing slow, your pacing deliberate. If your aim is authority, speak with certainty and avoid filler words. If you want to create subtle intimidation, hold eye contact slightly longer than comfortable, then break it on your own terms. If you want to create allure, speak less, ask more questions, and let them talk into the silence you leave behind. Your delivery is the sculptor's tool. The impression is the statue you're building in their mind. Step 3. Control the exit. This is the part most people ignore, and it's where your true power lies. Most conversations fade out naturally, ending with generic goodbyes, awkward pauses, or someone else deciding it's over. This is amateur behavior. You do not let the interaction die on someone else's schedule. You end it on your terms. The final note must reinforce the impression you chose at the start. That might mean leaving after delivering a single decisive sentence that makes them think for hours. It might mean exiting with a faint knowing smile that suggests you know more than you've revealed. It could be a pause before leaving that makes them realize they were the ones being evaluated, not you. You leave them thinking, and that thinking continues long after you've walked away. Why is the exit so important? Because people tend to remember the peak of an experience and its ending. This is called the peak-end rule in psychology. If you control the ending, you control the memory. And if you control the memory, you control the story they tell themselves about you. That story is the anchor point for every future interaction. Step 4. Repeat, refine, reinforce. Anchoring is not a one-time trick. It's a cumulative process. Each interaction should add another layer to the same core impression until it becomes undeniable. If you've decided your anchor is calm dominance, then every meeting, call, and message must drip with that quality until it becomes the only way they can perceive you. You're not leaving your reputation to chance. You're engineering it like an architect building a fortress. The beauty of anchoring is that it begins to work automatically over time. Once you've conditioned someone to associate you with a specific feeling, they will start to expect it before they even see you. If you've anchored yourself as someone whose presence demands respect, they will adjust their tone before the first word leaves your mouth. If you've anchored caution, they will tread lightly from the moment you enter the room. If you've anchored awe, they will seek your approval before you've even spoken. This is the true Machiavellian advantage. You're not just reacting to the present moment, you're shaping the future by engineering how others perceive you. Every time you interact, you're planting a seed that will grow into behavior favorable to you. The silent weapon, selective disruption. Once you've anchored an impression, you can amplify it by occasionally breaking it strategically. Imagine you've anchored yourself as calm and collected in all situations. One day, in a moment of deliberate choice, you display a flash of cold, sharp intensity. Not uncontrolled rage, but calculated power. That moment will hit harder, because it's so out of character for the image they've come to expect. You've shown them another dimension of your control, that even your rare flashes of force are intentional. The defensive benefit anchoring shields you from attempts to smear or undermine you. If you've spent years anchoring yourself as disciplined and strategic, no sudden rumor of recklessness will hold weight. It contradicts the version of you that people have already accepted as truth. Your consistency in anchoring becomes a shield against misinformation. This is why anchoring must be deliberate and sustained. It becomes not just your weapon, but your armor. And here's the part most people never tell you. Anchoring is one of the few forms of power that works in silence. You don't have to confront people directly to shape their perception. You don't have to argue, defend, or prove yourself. You let your actions and presence speak for you. Over time, the anchor becomes so deeply set that even your absence continues to influence the room. When you walk away, the image remains. When you're silent, your presence is still felt. When you've left the conversation, you're still in their mind. That is the ultimate level of influence, when you no longer have to be physically present to control the tone of the interaction. Comment this right now. I choose my impression. Say it until it becomes instinct, because once you choose the impression, you control the memory. And when you control the memory, you control the behavior that memory produces. That is psychological anchoring. That is the unseen hand on the wheel of human interaction. And when you master it, you stop reacting to the world and the world starts reacting to you. Number 9, the untouchable mind. Everything you've heard, distance, silence, scarcity, unpredictability, anchoring, wasn't just a list of tactics. It was a blueprint for something few will ever build. The mind no one can touch, the presence no one can own, the will no one can bend. This is the end game. This is where all the rules converge. The weak let everyone in. They hand over their time, their attention, their emotions like it cost them nothing. They leave their gates open, then cry out when their peace is invaded, their energy drained, their spirit hollowed. But you, if you've followed this path, you've done something different. You've built walls not to hide behind, but to define the limits of access. Not to lock yourself away, but to make it clear entry is earned. Never assume. You've turned your silence into a blade so sharp that it cuts without being drawn. You've made your absence a signal that says more than presence ever could. You've taken scarcity and made it a currency. You've woven unpredictability into your movements so no one can map your patterns. You've anchored yourself in the minds of others so deeply that they cannot think of you without feeling exactly what you've chosen for them to feel. Understand what that means. You've taken control of the game at a level most people don't even realize exists. They still think power is about shouting the loudest, being everywhere, winning public battles. They have no idea the real victories are invisible. The ones won before the other side even knows there's a fight. People will notice you've changed. They'll feel it before they can name it. They'll speak differently around you. Measured, careful. They'll hesitate before asking for something they used to demand without thought. Their old tricks, guilt, urgency, flattery, provocation will slide off you without leaving a mark. That's when they'll understand they don't have the same access anymore. The cost of reaching you just went up, and not everyone can afford it. This is the state Machiavelli understood without needing to write it as a single rule. The balance point lies between fear, respect, and fascination. Too much fear, and people unite against you. Too much love, and they begin to take liberties. The cold mind holds the middle, balancing both forces without being consumed by either. You are now a storm on the horizon, never constant, but always possible. They don't know when you'll appear, but they know you could. They don't know what you'll do, but they know it will matter. Your unpredictability is not chaos. It is calculated risk for them, calculated control for you. This uncertainty is your shield. It keeps the reckless away. It is also your spear, piercing their confidence before they've even spoken. From here, every move you make must reinforce this untouchable frame. Every interaction is an opportunity to remind them without saying a word that your time is scarce, your focus selective, your reactions deliberate. You've stripped away the noise, cut out the opportunists, Silence the weak demands. You've surrounded yourself only with those who understand that being in your space is a privilege. And here's the truth. Once you reach this point, you don't have to enforce the rules as often. The rules begin to enforce themselves. People who would have wasted your time in the past will stop approaching. They've calculated the risk and decided it's not worth it. Those who might have tried to manipulate you will pull back because they know you don't play by their script. You have redefined the terms of engagement, and now, whether they admit it or not, everyone is playing by your rules. But this is also the danger. Comfort. Once you become untouchable, it's tempting to relax, to think the work is done. That's when erosion begins. The untouchable mind must be maintained like a weapon. Every day you are tempted to overshare. Resist every time you want to react. Pause every time you consider chasing. Stay still and let them come to you. This discipline is what keeps the blade sharp. There will be moments when the old world tries to pull you back. People will test your boundaries, try to provoke you, try to break through the walls you've built. Some will come with open hostility, others with sweet words. Neither should move you. You do not bend. You do not explain. You do not hand over control of your state to anyone for any reason. The real victory isn't in winning arguments or dominating interactions. It's in never having to fight them in the first place. The untouchable mind wins without battle because it makes battle impossible. It denies the enemy the conditions they need to engage. That is the highest form of power. And if you hold this line, if you keep the silence sharp, the absence meaningful, the scarcity deliberate, the unpredictability precise, and the anchor unshakable, something remarkable happens. The world begins to reshape itself around you. People adapt to you instead of you adapting to them. Your energy is no longer pulled in 1,000 directions. Your focus becomes a weapon you can aim where it matters most. Comment this right now. I am untouchable, not as a hope, not as a wish, but as a statement of fact, a declaration of the reality you have built. If you've listened this far, it means you're ready not just to hear these truths, but to live them. That means no halfway measures, no slipping back into old patterns when it's convenient. You either live untouchable or you don't. You either control your frame or the world controls it for you. So here's the final move. Commit to maintaining this state, no matter the noise outside. Commit to valuing your presence so highly that others have no choice but to value it too. Commit to walking away from anything and anyone who demands more than they've earned. That is not cruelty. It is the discipline of someone who understands that their life, their mind, and their peace are not for public consumption. And if you want to keep this edge, if you want to keep sharpening it, then lock this in right now. Like this video so it spreads to those who need to hear it. Subscribe so you never miss the next weapon I put in your hands. Turn on notifications so you are always ready for the next move. Because in the game of power, missing one lesson can cost you everything. This is Psyggrithm, and now you are untouchable.